back to The Laundry List. I'm your host, Todd Belfer, here with my co-host, Blake. And we are excited to have a 27-minute podcast today.
27 minutes.
27 minutes, because 2 plus 7 is 9, and 9 is the number that makes it all happen.
Hard 9. We rolled a lot of hard 9s in Vegas.
We did.
It pays really well.
The hard 9 came up, and it's some of the better odds out there. So, we never know what we're going to talk about, but we just met a woman in the lobby here at the studio who gave me some inspiration and topic ideas. And one of those is when you're dating, what to not talk about and what to talk about. And you and I, Blake, always talk about dating as interviewing.
Yep, for sure.
For a while, dating was like trying to get them to move in as quick as possible.
Yeah, now it's send the U-Haul. Yeah.
Now it's interviewing and getting to know the person.
Mm-hmm. I've done it, I think the wrong way, and I've done it the other wrong way, and I think I'm doing it the right way now.
Yeah. Well, the key is not to look desperate.
No.
Not to act like a puppy dog. Like the lady we just talked to said she went on a date, and the guy just talked about his divorce and how his wife crushed him, and that was 10 years ago. And I know from my experience, like talking about exes and emotions and how you feel about your exes is just like a non-starter.
No, yeah, I would agree because
on the first date.
But I think because I've done it where I haven't talked about it at all, and I think that isn't the right answer either, because eventually that's going to come out, because it's regardless of what it's part of your story, right? Like you were married, you were divorced. Right. It's always going to be part of your story.
It's timing,
but it's all about what you're saying and how you're saying it.
Right. Yeah. I know when I was dating,
especially playing from the victim viewpoint about your previous relationships is a definite non-starter.
Even if you are devastated and you feel like you got screwed, which again is the wrong narrative and story you're telling yourself. But let's say that's where you're at. You're in the victim. You're in the narrative of I got screwed. My wife or my husband screwed me, and I just, I'm sad. I'm broken. I'm not going to be okay. If that's the narrative, fine. But you got to get into the place where you're not bringing that narrative and story to the dating world, because you're not going to attract anyone healthy.
No.
You're going to attract someone who's also broken and very much the victim.
Or you're going to attract a person that wants to fix you.
Yeah. Or fix you, or they're broken too. And like, hey, let's be broken together.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's important to just go into it, even if you're in that narrative, to like just fake it till you can make it. Mm-hmm. I got divorced, didn't work out. We just, two different people, but I'm glad I went through it. And I'm looking forward to meeting somebody who's more aligned with me. Healthy answer.
For sure.
Instead of like, yeah, she did this and she cheated on me and she stole my money and, she was mean to my kids or whatever, whatever the story you're telling yourself.
I definitely probably overshare and over-explain.
I think once you get to know someone and you're starting a relationship and you're getting to know the person, but the first few dates, if you're saying that stuff, you're going to attract that broken person or that person that wants to fix you and be your mom. And, you don't want to marry your mom.
I definitely don't.
Yeah. But I think as human beings tend to gravitate towards what we knew, which was our first love, which is our mom.
For sure.
Our mom was the one who's raising us, feeding us, clothing us, giving us shelter, supposedly loving us and making us feel safe. So that's what we know. That's what we know as a relationship. And, now you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go find that. For good and for bad. There's obviously some great stuff that happens when you're a kid, and then there's some stuff that's pretty hard and traumatic. But it's easier to just go with what's more comfortable and what's more familiar.
Yeah. I think with what you're saying and being familiar is that for me in my previous relationships, because it was the only thing I knew. So I thought that's what love was. Right. I thought the anxiety and the attachment and all of those things was what love was. Mm-hmm. And now in my relationships, I feel no attachment, but I feel way more love.
Right. You don't have the attachment, but you feel way more love. And you're also probably more comfortable in your own skin and more confident in who you are and okay to be alone and say no.
Yeah.
Which is all new stuff probably.
It's all very new behavior.
Yeah, because when we're broken and we're insecure and we don't feel good about ourselves and we don't think we're deserving of love and deserving of a relationship, we're going to take whatever comes our way, whether it's somebody who's completely broken or someone who's completely angry and, got rage. It doesn't matter. We're going to take whatever comes along because we don't feel that we're worthy and have the capability to get somebody that has all of our needs, that we can, check all the boxes. And that's why we settle. And that's why we're like, well, it's a female.
Or we go back to previous exes.
Right. Because it's, again,
familiar.
Familiar is safe.
Even though, true insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Mm-hmm. It's only a matter of time.
Right.
The zebra can't change their stripes.
Nope. No. So the key is to get to that place where you're working on yourself.
Yep.
You feel good about yourself. You're comfortable being alone. You're not going to freak out if they say, this isn't going to work out. And I think we should just say goodbye and hug and look for someone who's more, more appropriate or more of a match. That used to just give me so much anxiety. Like, oh my God, they're going to break up with me. They're going to leave. And I would not accept that. No. I'm going to figure out how to make it work. And the reason I wanted to figure out how to make it work is not because I loved that person so much and was attracted to all of their similarities that we had in common. It was because I didn't want to be alone. Yeah. It was the abandonment.
And when you do that and somebody says, hey, this is done, and then you start bartering and begging, all you're doing is destroying your own self-worth and your own self-confidence.
Yeah, who could have respect for someone like that? So the person that's going to be okay with staying in that type of position is going to be someone who has very low self-esteem, very low confidence, and they don't feel like they can get anybody else either. Yeah. So they're going to stay.
Where you and I both know that is a recipe for disaster.
Right. Like we all know people out there who have relationships, long-term relationships, and one of the partners doesn't let the other partner, as an example, travel with their girlfriends around the world. They just don't. Why? Because it creates fear and anxiety that person might leave them. And that has nothing to do with the current situation. It has everything to do with their childhood and that they might be left by their mom or dad or might be abandoned. So if their group of girlfriends is like, hey, we're going to London, we're going to New York, we're going to San Francisco. And then one of the girls is like, oh, I can't go. My husband's going to be mad at me if I go. You know that dynamic without even knowing. So I love being in a relationship now where my wife can, and she travels all the time. She's like, oh, I'm going to go back east to see my family for a week or two. Great. She's going to Salt Lake next week to go see some girlfriends. Awesome. I'm excited for you. The old Todd that was so broken and insecure, would be calling her every hour.
Or let me go. Yeah. Can I go with you?
Yeah. Right. So, neediness, insecurity, low self-esteem is not attractive on you and the other person.
Yeah. I remember I was on my bachelor party and she was on her bachelorette party, and I'm supposed to be having fun and enjoying the guys that I'm with, but all I could think about was calling her every hour to check in and make, And
are you okay? Is she mad at you?
How's it going?
Is she mad at you? Is she going to scream at you? Are you going to feel like that little kid who's in trouble again?
Yeah.
Because that's what as sick as that is, that's what we want to feel.
For sure.
We want to feel we're in trouble.
And that's what we're chasing. We're chasing that shame and we're chasing that.
And now when that pops up, I'm like, time out. Hold on. You're not going to be yelling at me. I'm not going to accept that. If that's where you're at right now, we should not have this discussion and let's have it later. And you know what? It feels so good to say that. It feels so right. It feels so healthy And that's because I'm so safe and secure with who I am. I don't need anybody in my life to be happy. No. I mean, I love my wife and I'm so blessed that she's in my life. But, if I was single, I have no problem being single until the right person came along.
For sure. And I think that the thing that I'm really enjoying about dating process and being single is I'm starting to really love myself and starting to feel confident. And I realized how when you're doing that behavior of, the neediness and the codependency, how much it destroys your self-worth and your confidence. Where now I'm a magnitude of 10 more confident, but I'm not an egomaniac, right? Where before I was so insecure and I was so unconfident that I needed to tell you how well I'm doing. I needed to tell you things so you'd be proud of me, or tell you so you'd say, "Oh, but wow, Blake, that's so impressive." Where now I'm confident where, your opinion of me is none of my business. And I know I'm doing the best that I can all the time.
I always say that for most of my life, I am an egomaniac with an inferiority complex.
Absolutely.
I'm like the man. Look at me. Look how amazing I am. Look how fun I am. I'm going to talk all the time. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to brag, but I'm scared to death of what you think of me, what I think of myself, and that people are going to leave me. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do the work, you're going to constantly be performing and living in that laundry list, which we forgot to read, which is okay. This could be the first episode where we don't read it and, start a new chapter in the laundry list. But, it's one of those things where if I'm not in that laundry list and performing, I'm starting to become real.
Yeah.
I'm starting to become real, and I'm starting to have real conversations with people.
And I think that the thing that I crave now more so than anything in all relationships is true, meaningful, intimate conversation. Where the whole surface level thing, I don't want to talk about, where your kids are going to college and, how, you're, and guys, my age, the promotion that you just got, the country club membership you just got, like, I don't want to hear about all that.
The material world.
The material things, right? I want to talk about what are you not free of, right? What's causing you fear and anxiety?
It's so funny when we tell people about our podcast and they go, what is it about? And we say relationships. It's funny, like I find most women are intrigued by that, want to know more, and even interested enough to want to come on the podcast and be vulnerable and open. I have very few guy friends that are like, "Oh, I want to come on your podcast." Yeah, like very few, and it just shows you the dichotomy of a man and a woman on how. And I don't typically like to be a generalist, but like how men are still so guarded and so ingrained and myopic in the material world. Like, okay, I got a job, I got the corner office, I'm a member of this country club, I got this car, I got 2 kids, I got a vacation home. I can talk about those things all day long. Yeah. But if you want to talk to me about, why I was crying 3 weeks ago, I'm not talking about that shit. Yeah. I'm not talking about it.
Or how you haven't talked to your dad in 4 years. Like, let's talk about that, right?
I met a guy yesterday for coffee, and he's for the first time in his life, he's opening up. And he's starting to talk about fear, and he's starting to talk about what he's scared of. And he cried 5 or 6 times at that coffee. And I can't tell you how attractive that was, how infectious that was, and how appreciated that was. And like, I've just met this guy and I already have a deep, significant relationship with him. Yeah. I've known guys for 30 years and we talk about, stocks and business, and which I love talking about that stuff. But like, there's another side of a relationship than just the surface material stuff.
Yeah. And I think the things that I need is, it's always great to talk about, the latest hot stock tip or the latest company to invest in, or who's coming to town, or whatever the project might be. But I really need, for my, if we call them my foxhole friends, is I need to really be able to connect on that intimate emotional level and a lot of it is like over the last couple of years is a lot of it is my own growth, but the growth of the group as a collective, where I feel like the group collectively in the last 3-4 years for a lot of us is a lot more intimate, a lot more real, because we've all been doing the work.
Yeah.
And we've all gone through a lot, you know?
Well, it's one of those sayings where we do become a product of our environment. And when our environment is what you just described, we do start to become a product of it. And if you don't, then you typically get out of that environment because it's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. And I think like, even if we look back for me, 4 years ago during COVID, how much I would gossip. Like, I think I would call you just a gossip. Where now I don't think we hardly ever gossip.
Yeah. And
I mean but that's something I'm aware of and I try to work on.
I am way okay talking about other people as long as it's something I could say to them in front of their face.
For sure.
And a lot of times I like talking about other people in the positive. Like, did you see how, Frank's doing? He's just kicking ass. He's just like on fire in that job and his relationship, and he's looking good and he's working out, and God, he's coming alive with his fears. And I mean, I love talking and bragging about my friends that are doing well,
Yeah. But, and it's not
Which
so
is
much
different than
it's not so much like I can be so happy for, like one of our friends, you're like, the stock went crazy. And like, I'm genuinely so happy for him, where I think before I'd been like, oh,
well,
God,
misery loves company.
Like, oh my God, I wish, why didn't I do that? I'm so dumb. I should have done that. Like and be like jealous, where now it's like, that's so great. And it has nothing to do with me. Misery
loves company. And if I'm miserable, I need some company.
Yeah.
So if you're miserable, let's hang out. And now my friends that are going through a hard time, I have a lot of empathy and compassion and love. But it doesn't mean I need to be miserable too. And it doesn't mean I need to create a story or a narrative of being the victim or being upset myself. And I heard something the other day. Someone said, my mom really upset me. And I was just paused and try to digest that sentence. My mom really upset me. And then you and I have talked about this on this podcast all the time. Your mom didn't upset you. Your mom said something to you that triggered you, that then caused you to have a choice to get upset. Because that thing that your mom said, when I heard it, had no effect on me whatsoever. In fact, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But when your mom said it to you, it triggered you, it made you upset, and created anger, anxiety, and kind of like a feeling of what's the word? Resentment. You had a resentment against your mom. But when I heard it, I thought it was funny, and I thought your mom was being cute, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, who is right, who's wrong? Well, it's everyone's perception, but something that your mom said that created that feeling inside of you is what you got to look at. Like, why did I get upset? And it's typically something that's threatening your ego. It's something like that's threatening your ego. And in this case, it was criticism, but I thought it was kind of funny. But that person took it on. So nobody, we say this all the time, nobody can upset you. Mm-mm. Your kids, your parents, your bosses, your coworkers, your friends, nobody can upset you. You may choose to get upset, but that's your choice. And that's so freeing, to know that. Yeah. Just to have that narrative and just to say it is so freeing because, I have control over my emotions and my happiness. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. I may not choose to be around someone who, is saying things that are not nice or mean because I just don't want to be around that kind of energy, but I don't have to get upset by it, right? Yeah. That person is clearly going through something and clearly not happy, but that's a tragedy. But we don't need two tragedies, and now I'm upsetting myself. So now I'm upset. They're upset. So now we have two tragedies, right?
Yeah.
Why not just let that person be upset and pray for them and send them positive energy and love and ask them if there's anything we can do for that person? Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything going on? I'm here for you, buddy. I'm here for you. I love you.
And I think love really is the answer.
Love is always the answer.
In all situations and whatever. And that's something that I really, because to love myself, I need to love others and love the outside universe. And I try to, not that I'm people pleasing, but when someone comes across my path and if I can say something nice and, come from a place of love, it makes me feel better.
It's amazing the frequency and the energy when you tell someone something nice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have such an infectious smile. You have such a wonderful smile. It puts me in a good mood when I see your smile. Oh my God, it's so good to see you at yoga today. I love doing yoga with you. You have such a brightness about you, right? Just saying like something like that rises all tides. Like all boats rise in that tide.
Yeah.
And it's such a nice feeling.
Like
instead of like, oh, I got to be here again. Oh, it's you here again.
Yeah. Or there's someone that teaches a yoga class, and I said, just wanted you to know, I really enjoy your positive energy and enthusiasm for life. Keep being you. Right. Like that's the stuff that I like doing and saying because it makes me feel better, you know? And she said, this was so nice. Made my day. Needed this a lot today. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Right. Because and that's the thing that I realize is like, there's a lot of people out there and maybe some of our listeners that are really struggling.
And they don't talk about it.
And they don't talk about it and they fake it and they go through life and they have no, like, we're so lucky that we can talk on the level that we talk because we've gotten to a place of like true bliss and happiness because we love ourselves and we love others.
Right.
But there's a lot of people out there that
don't want to talk about
and there's a lot of people that don't feel loved. They don't have anyone tell them they love them. They don't have friends that are real friends. They have, you know, the gossiping friends that are judgmental and wouldn't show up at 4 a.m. if you called, you know, and I try to radiate that positive energy because it makes me feel good. I'm doing it selfishly.
Right. Yeah. There's no question. And, you know, like when I have sponsees in AA that are leaking oil, one of the things I typically tell them is I want you to smile at everyone you see today, make eye contact, and say it's good to see you and say hello. And it's amazing how many of those guys come back to me after a couple of days and go, you know, I feel better.
Yeah.
I feel better. Why? Because you're radiating love, and you can't radiate love unless you truly feel it. So you're radiating love where before you were radiating self-pity, anxiety, I'm not good enough, I'm broken, I'm in trouble, I'm a bad person. And when you just smile and look at someone else and go, it's nice to see you. It's good to see you. Hi, good morning. And you smile, it's like, and wave to them, it just brightens their day, but it also brightens your day. And that's, you know, I've done that for years with men that I sponsor that will be leaking oil and like feeling sorry for themselves, and they're frowning and they're looking at the ground when they walk. And then all of a sudden they do this exercise for a couple of days and then they feel amazing.
But when you're, at least for me, when I'm pouting and I'm looking sad and have that whole thing, it's because I want people to ask me how I'm doing so I can say, oh, I'm not doing, so I can really
you want to continue
I can be in the
narrative.
victim. So
you
I can stay being the victim. And where now it's everything's great because it's happening exactly how it's supposed to happen because that's the way it's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing, because I've been talking to this girl, she's sober, which is something that because I'm going through the interview process, right, for the first time and figuring out what I want, what I don't want, what I like, what I don't like. And I've only ever dated party girls, and that's something I don't want. Like I figured out finally, like that's something I don't want because it is part of my, in the laundry list, the addicted to excitement. And I get that hit of, you know, I get to be a rescuer and I get to take care of them because they're so drunk and I got to carry them out of the bar. Like,
but also you don't feel safe dating party girls.
Yeah.
And why? Because they're party girls.
For sure.
And I remember dating some party girls in my 20s, and I never felt safe. And I had that anxiety and that pit in my stomach when they would go out or not call me. And guess what? And this is before cell phones. And guess what? I was attracting that feeling because I wanted that feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was a familiar childhood feeling.
Yeah. And the whole not knowing and this, and now this girl I'm talking to, very, you know, we share a lot of the same programs, and it's very calm and peace. And that's what I'm attracted to, but it doesn't feel normal. Right. Because I've never done, you know, I've never had someone that, you know, we can have a conversation of, you know, hey, when you said this, it made me feel X, Y, Z, or, hey, you know, what are some of your non-negotiable boundaries? Right. And I can say them and I'm not worried. You know, she says right then and there, oh, I'm not looking for that, or I'm not interested in that, or we differ on that, and whatever the result is, like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Well, you have respect for yourself, and you're okay with the relationship ending. That's the key. People that are not okay with the relationship ending will sacrifice and succumb and compromise at every turn because they don't want abandonment. But if you're okay with this relationship ending, then you will stand up for what you want and what you believe in. And like it says in the promises, we expect the best and get it.
For sure.
This is another example of that. Like if we're willing to say, you're a pack-a-day smoker, just not for me. I wish you all the well, and I enjoyed hanging out with you for a couple of days, but I'm not asking you to quit smoking. I'm just not interested in having a relationship with someone who smokes a pack a day. That is standing up for yourself and loving yourself. And
I think it's also a different place too. When you're okay with it ending, you're not so much worried about the end result, right? Like I'm not worried, whether I talk and have a relationship with this girl it ends tomorrow or the next 50 years. I'm not worried about the result.
Right.
Right. I'm just enjoying the interviewing process.
That's freedom. And that's actually being able to get what you want and become yourself. Because when you're not worried about what the other person says, like I remember I had a friend who went to a party and he was telling all these jokes, these sort of racist, cultural, ethnic jokes. And his girlfriend got mad at him. And he apologized and started like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And I'm like, well, do you really believe you shouldn't have said that? Do you truly apologize out of your heart? Or did you apologize and say you're sorry because she was mad at you? Mm-hmm. And if you get to the point where like, no, I actually thought that was funny and that's kind of who I am.
Yeah.
So if you don't like who I am, then, then maybe this may not work because that's my sense of humor. Like, as you know, Blake, I have a particular sense of humor and I like public embarrassment at my own cost, right? Yeah. And if my wife would be like, oh God, Todd, you can't do that. Like, I'd be like, maybe this isn't the right girl for me, because that's me. And and I'm not going to change that, and that's freeing and that's confidence and that's self-love. And it just feels so good to be able to be yourself and not be concerned what other people think. No anxiety.
Yeah.
Zero.
No anxiety. If you like me, great. If you don't, oh, well.
All right.
There's plenty of people and I think the hardest part for me is I can do it really well and, professional or, just friends. But I think with women, like it's taken a lot of effort to be myself and be unapologetically myself. And
well, you have a lot of practice not doing that.
No, yeah, for sure. But it's so ingrained. And the person I talked to asked me, she says, do you think you're fully over your divorce?
Good question.
And I said, I think no one ever is fully, I think it's a process and no one's ever fully like, I don't think you wake up one day and all of a sudden it's like, you don't remember. And it's like, Men in Black and the memory's wiped. But I said, I think, I'm getting better at understanding what my triggers are from my previous relationships and not letting that carry forward into new relationships.
Yep.
And she's like, yeah, good answer. Cause I think people that, I'm totally over it. I don't even think about like, you're lying to yourself. Like, I don't know for you, like there's still times where the memories or thoughts or a song or a smell. And I'm like, I go right back to like, I remember,
right.
And it's like,
so there's no concrete answer for that. It's like, I am free and comfortable in my own skin that I'm ready to date. Cause I know when I started dating, I was not in a position to date.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even there.
No, for sure.
My body was there, but I was not there.
Yeah.
And the girl can tell. Like the girl's like, you're not ready to go on dates yet. And I'd be like, no, I'm fine, but I wasn't there. So I think what you're saying is you're comfortable in your own skin. You're present. You're in the moment. You can have conversations and you're not feeling this high or low level anxiety and fear that you've been abandoned. That's gone away.
Yeah.
And that's the key. As long as you have a high or low level anxiety of abandonment, it's hard to be going on dates.
For sure. And I'm grateful that I went on those bad dates and I wasn't ready because it because I mean, Richard talks about like you really figure out a lot about yourself through your interaction with the outside world,
right,
and other people, right? If you're just gonna go, hey, I'm gonna go lock myself in a cabin for 30 days and I'm gonna find myself and I'm gonna figure it out, like you're not gonna figure out anything.
Yeah, you find it out in relationships and dynamics,
and what triggers you, and I think my biggest trigger that I'm having a hard time dealing with is the when someone, or personally, professionally, whatever, I still have a hard time with personal criticism. And I think that that's something I'm going to continue to work on, but it really sometimes when someone's like says something and especially when it's true, I'm like I go into that we talk about that shame, but now I don't have to have an outward reaction.
You recover,
where we have a certain, a business partner that can be very hard and very blunt and very like, and even 6 months ago, I would like have a meltdown and like, and now it's like, okay, that's his opinion. Doesn't necessarily need to be my reality, and just move through it. Right.
Criticism. It's amazing how people see criticism. And this is an example where when people criticize other people from a place of fear, anger, disappointment, that tend to be received as shame, guilt. I'm broken. I'm not good enough. I'm a stick in the mud. And when you really look at it, like, who said it? The other person said it. So why do I take that as truth? I mean, is it really true? I mean, I always look at criticism like, is there something I can learn from this?
For sure.
Is there something that I can get a little bit better at? And then like leave the rest. But like, I don't take it personally. Like, if the person is trying to hurt me, like, well, and I feel sorry for that person.
Yeah, for sure.
That person is broken.
And I think also now that I can realize that when people are giving me, criticism, I try to look at it as, unsolicited feedback, and that feedback I can do with it whatever I want. I can just let it roll off my back. I can, say, hey, maybe he's got a point here. But I also know that my friends and the people closest to me, I appreciate their feedback. Where before I used to be like, he's being mean to me, right? Where the people closest to me, I like the feedback, right? I like someone being real, like, hey, you said this, and what are you trying,
it's the same thing in a relationship, like standing up for yourself, speaking your truth, speaking what's really inside on your morals, ethics, and values. And that's new behavior. Mm-hmm. Because if someone used to criticize me, I'd be like, oh, take it or not take it, but I would never stand up for myself.
Or you do the opposite of, I'm going to show you.
Right.
And that's a dangerous place too.
Yeah. When someone's mean and angry towards me, I got three options. I can mirror that back and be a dick and rageful and angry back.
Yeah.
I can stuff it and be like, okay, I can take it. I'm smiling. I love you. Everything's good, even though I'm dying inside. Yeah. And then the third thing is I can reflect and change. So I can radiate love back to you. Blake, you're not looking so good. Your skin looks terrible. You're not working anymore. You have a choice. You could be like, well, fuck you. Or you could just smile and say, oh, okay, or you can radiate love back to me and go, well, I'm glad we have a relationship and I love you a lot.
Yeah.
That radiating back to the other person of love and compassion and empathy certainly changes you because you're the one doing it, but it probably also changes them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when you, because it all, we'll come back to the full circle thing, is it's all about love and loving others and loving yourself. And when you love someone, like I think that the purest and truest happiness is loving people that have done things or said things or whatever that don't deserve it. Like that's when you really are free, is somebody can say crazy, hurtful, they can try to be hurtful, they can try to destroy me with their words. And if I can love that person, that's the power. And that's the being really free from it all. And at least for me in this this body and this go around is if I can love that person that hates me.
Well, you're loving yourself.
I'm loving myself.
Everybody's a mirror.
For sure.
Because what might seem like they hate you, I might look at that and go, no, they're being cute. They're being funny. You know, we talked about this the other day, or me and a buddy talked about how in AA, in a lot of 12-step programs, giving banter, like having banter and giving each other shit is actually a form of telling you love them.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
My friend Jim Tazarak used to always say that. The more shit we give everyone and the more we joke around with everyone, the more we're saying we love you.
Yeah. Where if you're an outsider and you're at the Tuesday night men's stag, so mean, you're like, these guys are assholes. But it's really John Butler loves you.
Everybody loves us and we're giving shit. So in the real world, if someone's giving a shit and someone's being mean, why not have that attitude? They love me.
Yeah.
I love you back, you know? Yeah. And everyone has a different delivery system, but
for sure.
I think radiating love and shining light back and compassion and empathy and sending prayers and sending, you know, loving energy to that person is the way to go, because I know I feel better. And people, it's, you know, we talk all the time. When we have resentments, we have to send that person, you know, prayers and energy and love in our minds, visualize it. And it's amazing how that just changes the dynamic of the relationship.
And it really over time, consistently doing it, it changes. I mean, I would even say it like changes your cells in your body.
Physically, it definitely changes you, no question.
Because I watched this video about this plant got nothing but hateful like dialogue on a loop, and then there's a plant that got, you know, we love you, you know, you're loved, you're this, and physically the plants ended up looking different after time.
No question. And there's that water study. There's that Japanese water documentary. Same thing. You know, when you're saying certain things to water, it forms certain patterns that look beautiful. And when you're saying mean, negative things to this water, it turns into destructive type patterns.
And imagine, you know, we go back to the self-dialogue, you know,
what we're doing to ourselves.
We're doing it ourselves.
Well, you know, as you know, I love this woman, Anita Mojari, who wrote this book, Dying to Be Me. You know, she died for a period of time and she had lymphoma, and the doctor said she won't make it through the night, and her whole family came in and she died. And then she went and saw her dad showed up, and her best friend, who died of cancer the year before, showed up and says, it's not your time. And you have a choice. You can go back or you can stay, but you know, we're just letting you know from the other side, it's not your time. But if you decide to go back into your body, you're going to go back without the self-destructive fear and the shame and the guilt and the competition you've been playing your whole life. Because she grew up in a very strict Indian household where she never felt good enough. She always felt judged. She lived in a constant state of high anxiety and control and fear. And they told her, if you go back, you're not going to have that in your life anymore. And within a week, all of her cancer was gone. And she had this new sense of freedom, gave up her capitalist job and her engineering, you know, job, and became this healer and teacher for people to show that the cancer was as a result of her judging and hating herself. The doctors still don't know how she survived that, because every doctor that looks at her report said, no, she definitely should have died that night. Like all her organs failed.
Yeah.
I mean, she did die for like 15 minutes and they brought her back. And all of a sudden the cancers just started dissipating. It's like she had tumors the size of big lemons, 20 of them, all over her body and her neck. They were all gone within 30 days.
It's unbelievable.
And with no radiation or treatment or surgery. And it was all up here. It was all her mind, and it was all her narrative that she's telling herself. She saw the love from the other side. She felt the love from the other side. And she's like, I'm taking that back into my physical world and my body.
And I think when you're radiating love, you can really manifest whatever life that you want and envision. Right. I mean, like Alex the other day, she's like, you really do manifest things. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a big believer in it. You know, the reality is yours of your making, right? If we want to be the victim and we want to feel sorry for ourselves, that's the result you're going to get, right? Where if you're just radiating love and loving people, and that's the other thing, like when people have bad things happen, I really just like to tell them that I love them, and that's it. Like I'm not, oh, I'm so sorry, or oh, do you need
it's going to be okay, or it'll work out. We don't know if it's going to be okay, but we don't know if it's going to work out.
The thing I do know is that I love you.
Right.
And
I love you and I care about you and I'm here for you.
Yeah. I love you.
And that's the best thing people said to me, after my tragedy in my life. People were just like, I love you. I'm here for you, and I just want to know that you're loved.
Yeah.
And that goes so far and it just means so much. So yeah, it's radiating love and being there for people, listening and not living in that laundry list, of lying and manipulation and really trickery. I mean, the laundry list is full lying, trickery, and manipulation when you look at it.
And you're manipulating others and more importantly, yourself.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we have some business to attend to and we are at the hour. We hope everybody has a great week. And like Blake says, please radiate love, smile at people, wave to people, do a small act of kindness for someone and don't tell anyone you did it. And see what happens. See what happens in your life. We love you, and we'll see you next week on The Laundry List.